What's up, guys? Welcome to the SNS Chicago podcast. I am Shannon Syas.
And I'm Steve Hurley.
And today we have an incredible guest that we're sitting down with, a guy that I've known for a very long time. Steve has known him also for a very long time, but he's a pillar in Chicago and also a pillar in the music industry and has toured the world. And it's fantastic to get him out here to sit down with us. None other than the incredible Mr. Paul Anthony, also known as Ghetto Blaster.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What up, Paul?
What's good? How are you?
Man, we're excited to have you, man. This is
I'm
great.
excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome. No, I'm happy that you made some time and came out and hung out with the fellas, man. I think last time we all hung out, I'm talking about like hung out was Miami Ocean 10.
Yeah,
that was a classic.
That was classic. And then
literally sitting with you guys is where I came up with the concept of Ghetto Blaster. Actually.
Is it?
Yeah, that's
and that ended up being on cover too.
It sure did. It sure did. I mean,
so that's where you came up with the concept?
Yeah, that whole weekend. I was like, I had just finished the Paul Anthony project. And I came to Miami searching for what I was going to do next. Wow. And hanging out with you guys and then going to Sneak's party right around the corner. I was like, why am I trying to do EDM when I'm from Chicago and house music is what I should be doing? So,
right.
And then sitting with the legends, it makes it pretty easy to decide what I'm going to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
So,
man, that's a great segue.
Cool.
So what was the defining moment that made you decide that this was something that you wanted to do? And you can go back early on, because let me ask you this. When you were younger, what was your inspiration as far as music goes or in general?
I feel like there was different levels of it. Like it started off when I was a kid. I was initially born in Chicago, and then as probably like 5-6 years old, we moved to Indiana.
Oh, okay.
And my dad would drive across the border to go get lottery tickets all the time because they didn't have lottery in Indiana yet. So there was a record store next door. So he would like put whatever you want on the radio, and I'd turn the radio on. You guys were on the radio.
Oh,
So early 80s, I was listening to house music, and my dad's like, oh, put this on. But I'm like, no, I want to hear this. To me, that was cool, you know? Right. So I had to figure out what that was. So when I went to the record store next door, I was finding the house records. So Mark Klein over on the Hot Tracks record store on
Hot Tracks.
Yeah. So Jimmy DeRosa, I saw those guys. Yeah. So cool. They ran that record store. That was back in the day.
Wow, that's incredible. So you had a love for the genre and got into it heavy, and then decided, wow, I think this is something that I want to do. Now, is that how the epiphany happened?
So basically it happened there. And then obviously a little later, MTV Raps became a thing, and I wanted to be a B-boy, a breakdancer. And I realized the guys that were playing our music were terrible at it. So I became the DJ for the breakdancers. And I started playing house music early on. I mean, I was the guy at the high school dance. They were like, can we hear old time rock and roll? I'm like, no, we're listening to house music. You know what I mean? I was pushing the agenda early. I think I started actually DJing at 12.
So being a DJ for the breakdancers, does that mean you were DJing in that style of finding the breaks and keeping the beat going?
So
juggling?
Well, it started with trying to make a tape so we could all do a dance routine.
Oh, okay.
And it was hard to find the music I was looking for on vinyl. I could only find house music. I couldn't find hip hop. So I had heard house music early on. But then when I went to go buy rap vinyls, I couldn't buy rap vinyls. I had Hot Tracks, but it's only house music. It's the only record store I knew about as a child. So, So I started buying house music, and I think like Fast Eddie was like the closest thing to rap music I could find on vinyl. So I'd get those records. I discovered Jack Your Body and Chippy and everybody else. I found all the early records at that record store. So all the DJ International stuff was there. All the Tracks records were there. Powerhouse, the DJ Tool records were there.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't find the records that I found in the 90s, which was Ultimate Beats and Breaks, which had every break to every 90s record in the whole collection. I had like a collection of 20 or 30 of them, and like just any the DOC.
I would kill for all that stuff right now on vinyl.
Like you'll hear the beat and you'll be like, wait, they didn't add anything to that record. That was just the beat.
Wow.
Yeah. So because if you would have found that, maybe you wouldn't have discovered house music like you did.
And of course, I learned how to scratch before I learned how to mix. So you guys have played parties with me. I scratch. So like I learned how to scratch first. And they're like, you got to learn how to beat match. I'm like, oh wow, all right.
Well, I was going to ask about
that. Taught you that crab stuff. Was that?
I learned it all on my own watching videos because where I was living in high school, I was really the only DJ. There was only like wedding DJs. I was the only like mixing DJ.
Oh, wow.
So was that a fusion by you having a love for hip hop and house music, considering
100%.
that you established this love for house music, but having this hip hop b-boy kind of state of mind? Did you say, wow, I think I can kind of fuse the two and make it cool?
100%. And the B-boys were dancing to like Soul Sonic Force and stuff like this. So it was really like a breakbeat house type thing anyways. Right. You know what I mean? So all that electro-y stuff early on was what really, I mean, I didn't realize that's what I was liking when you're watching Beat Street and Breakin' and all these things, but you start figuring it out. I remember the day that I learned timing, like measures and blending. Like I put it on the right time and she stopped singing and he started. I was like, oh shit, this is how you DJ. Okay. Because I was just mixing and getting on beat. I didn't realize you had to count. And I figured that because I had no one to show me. I learned it all on my own. So.
Wow.
Were you playing that Detroit Metroplex stuff too? Like Model 500?
That was later. That wasn't easy to find for me for some reason.
Around what time was that when you were?
When I started discovering the Detroit stuff outside of Big Fun and Good Life, it was like the Metroplex stuff. I probably found that in like the late 90s.
Oh, okay. That's because it probably was out of print or something.
Yeah, and then I started playing rave parties, and I became more like national, and I started learning music. When I go to Detroit and go to the record stores looking for Chicago house, I'm finding Detroit house. You know what I mean? So
cool.
That's how I figured it out.
So being from that world and then transitioning into the rave world, and that being a gigantic culture, I guess an underground culture that a lot of people just aren't very familiar with, kind of take us on a journey.
After high school, actually in the middle of high school, I had ventured, my buddy worked at Gramophone and I would go with him after school to his shift. And I don't know if you know John Foston, but him and Andy Moy were the ones working. And I remember I would go in and eventually Joe was like, man, you can't just sit here in the back. Like, you don't work here, but we're going to put you to work. You need to go put these records in alphabetical order. These are the stuff that everyone listened to. We need to put them back. So you're going to sit here. I'll give you good discounts. So that's how I started hanging out with these guys. Wow. And, well, we went to a club called Jubilation, which was the old Photon where all the raves happened. So I had gone there and I'm just standing in the DJ booth wanting to DJ. There's 1,000 kids. I'm a senior in high school at this point. And the guy that was DJing, Freddie, was drunk and he's like, I gotta use the bathroom. Does anybody know how to DJ that's here right now? And everyone was wasted because you're not supposed to drink at the teen club, but they were. Right. And I was like, I raised my hand. I'm like, I'll do it. He's like, he went to the bathroom, came back, and I'm just cutting it up in front of like 1,000 people. This guy goes, bring your records next week.
Wow.
So that's kind of how I got into the Chicago style of it, because I was very suburban at the time. And from there, it just led to other things. I was at the record store and Sneak was telling me, you know, yeah, have you ever been to a rave? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Is that like the sex drug parties? Because you don't know what that is, right? I'm thinking 90210, right? Like, you don't know exactly what it is. So I decided to go and see him play at like 3 a.m. at the Harvey Expo, which I didn't realize was the same building. I had no clue. So we showed up at 3 a.m. and there's 3,000 kids on the warehouse side. And I was like, forget all this club shit. This is what I want to do. And I asked him, I go, how do you do this? He goes, well, there's 2 ways in this game. Either you could put out a bunch of mixtapes or you can start making records, one or the other. He goes, that's how I got involved in. I put out a lot of mixtapes, so I'm sure you remember that at the record stores. After everyone blew up, I was like the last of the Mohicans in the mixtape era. I sold like 100,000 mixtapes in 3 years. So
now, when you were in that scene, did you find it to be an easy transition, and were you accepted in that space? At
first, it was super hard because I didn't know you go to these warehouse parties, you don't know who's throwing them. I mean, you've played them. So I printed up 1,000 mixtapes to begin with. And I just started handing them to everyone that looked important. And eventually I was on, I'm sure you remember before there was MySpace and Facebook and all this stuff, there was like the AOL message boards. And there was one that was saying, looking for Paul Anthony. I got this mixtape and the phone number doesn't work, because my mom tripped when she found out I put our home phone number on the tape. I was like, how am I supposed to get booked? She was like, there's weirdos that have your numbers now. I'm like, okay. So luckily I had seen that post and that turned into a booking for me in the rave scene, but it took me a year of handing out tapes before I got into it. But it became a thing where I put out so many tapes to kids too, that I was being asked for, like people were looking for me. So
Now let me ask you, when doing these events, and I've seen you at a lot of raves, you and I were on the circuit together, many a nights, many a long nights. So with that being the case, do you feel like during that period of time you got your just due respect, and then throughout the period of time, do you think it dwindled, or did it stay consistent?
Well, at first it was a hard thing because everybody was pissed off that the guy from Indiana was a Chicago DJ. Even though I was born in Chicago, I was becoming bigger than the local Chicago DJs, and they were getting mad about it. He's not even from Chicago. I still hear it to this day.
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay, so I just moved to Chicago. I started working at the record store. I worked at Hip House and Hot Jams and all this stuff. And for me to drive from Indiana back, it was just a nightmare. And then having to go home, get your records, then go to the Rave and come back to I moved to the city for a while. You know what I mean? Like during that whole era. And like I said, even recently, I've heard banter. Oh, this guy's not from Chicago. Okay, that's cool, man. I broke bread here in Chicago. Right. That's where I started playing my parties. I didn't get known in Indiana. You know what I mean? So
now, just to flip back a bit, with those record stores, I just want to touch on that a little bit. Could you give me the contrast to each individual record store? Because I know each record store that you've been a part of has probably played a very instrumental part of your life.
One of the things that I used to do at the record stores that ensured that I got booked for raves is they would try to sell tickets at our record stores. And right off the rip, I'm like, do you want me to push your party? And they're like, yeah. I go, cool. Well, there's not one DJ from our store that's on this flyer. So the second you walk out, I'm throwing your flyers away. Wow. You start including the record store. It doesn't have to be me, but it has to be someone from our store. There's 12 DJs that work here.
Right.
Book somebody.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, what happens if you do? I go, well, this guy booked someone. Watch. I bring up a customer and I put the flyer right in the bag. I go, hey, there's a party this weekend. Check it out. I put the flyer in your bag. I'll promote to every customer as long as you book one of us.
Wow.
So all of a sudden I started getting booked for a lot of raves because I wasn't going to carry their flyers or sell their tickets.
So you had to force the support. Huh?
Oh, for sure. And the one good hustle about that early on too, a lot of the guys that were coming up never got paid by the promotion. Oh, the party fell short. I was like, hey, do you want me to bring your pre-sale tickets to the party that night? They go, yeah, sure. I go, I'm taking my money out though. That's cool. They're like, that's cool. I never got stiffed. I always got paid.
Now, what was your style? What genre of music?
I was doing disco house. Like at the time that I broke in heavy to the rave scene, I want to say like Olav Bezowski was like the king of like the sampling disco house at the time. That and Paul Johnson and a few other, but you couldn't go to a rave and play a Paul Johnson record when you're playing with Paul Johnson. So I had to find the other disco house records. Oh, you know what I mean? So at that point, so it was, rest in peace, Paul. But
rest in peace to Paul.
But my man killed it on the disco house. So like he's always finding those clever samples that no one can find. Yeah. And that was the thing. So like you had to dig deeper if you're going to play a party with him. So
what was your relationship with Paul Johnson? Because I know you guys were close. And I
met him the same night I met you. You guys pulled up to a party I was playing for 2,000 people. Wow. And you guys brought me a stack of records.
Wow.
Yep. So, and he was like, I heard you're the new Paul in town. I say, I hear you're the legend, Paul. So that just turned into a good relationship. And I played it and he gave me more records that night. He goes, I had a few more records for you. And he was like, we should play together sometime. And that spawned the Paul Meets Paul at Live on the Decks, which was like, building up to that point, that became my biggest party. We played for the whole Harvey Expo, so like 8,000-9,000 people. It was just me and him back to back. It was Hard Floor, Farley, I have so many other people that were Christopher Lawrence at the time. But that was the first party that like set me off in my career. After that, I never played for less than $2,000 in Chicago. Like I went from struggle to all of a sudden now I'm getting respect because Paul kind of like said, hey, he's for real. Like this is my guy. And we came off stage and that was my first interview ever. Like we actually interviewed with Herb Magazine as the first publication I got written about. They interviewed me and Paul right after the set. So
wow. Now, did you think Paul was going to be as cool and receptive as he was when everyone met? Or did you have this like bigger than life vibe? Like he's just going to walk by me or toss a record at me or something?
What's super crazy about the rave scene that I found versus the club scene, and this is probably different in New York, but growing up in Chicago at the time that I was coming up, in Chicago, it was crazy. I'm meeting the guys who were making the records because early on in my career, that's why like people like are very like black, white, this, that. I'm like, dude, records were all black vinyl. I had no idea who made these records. I just heard these records. I never met any producer in my life where I lived.
Wow.
So at the raves, I'm finally meeting everyone making these records. And that's different from the club scene because you're DJ at the club down the street. Ain't no producers coming in. You know what I mean? Not regularly, you know what I'm saying? Unless you're playing the real cool club, but when you're coming up, you're not.
Wow.
So you know what I'm saying? And people don't understand in Chicago too, growing up as a DJ here, you know, it's like you're not maybe different at this time, but at that time you couldn't just play house music. You were the guy playing freestyle, you were playing house. If you were the DJ at the club,
Right.
you had to play everything.
Yeah.
So, and I take that format in my head now when I DJ. It's not, I wouldn't call it really open format, but when I'm DJing for a big festival or crowd, if I don't see them moving, I'll dig in my flash drive. Like, what do I have that will make them move? I'm more of a crowd reader when I DJ. I separate my producing from my DJing. I do highlight my records in my set, but I also play the crowd because I grew up doing that. Yeah, for sure.
With the rave scene, because I just want to touch on that. And you were making mention and saying that it was a open and welcome space that you were a part of. Did you always feel accepted? Because like you mentioned, it wasn't a white or black thing. It was just, it was a groove thing.
It was
everybody thing. And that energy was just, everyone was there with the same common goal to listen to great house music or techno or drum and bass.
Not know what you were hearing. Nowadays they're like, oh, I'm going to see Dom Dollar or whoever. Back then it was like, I have no idea who this DJ from Germany is, but I'm excited to hear him.
Right.
I mean, it was such a new, fresh thing at that time.
Right.
And like, I feel like nowadays it's almost, they have to know your name before they'll go support you. Back then it was like, I'm going to hear house music. And then and I love the new memes that are going around. Whatever happened to the DJ not being noticed, I don't remember that time. I love knowing who the DJ was. I'm like, who the fuck is killing it right now? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
talk about that, Paul. That's actually a very interesting thing to kind of stick to. Have that conversation about how it used to be, where when you go to a party and you actually go and you DJ, it was about how you brought it each and every night, because there could be, 10 to 12 promoters at that event. And it was one for one. It wasn't this commercialized, systematic type of an operation. If you went there and they were impressed with what you would do, you would leave that event with an actual booking, probably in 4 or 5 different places or states.
100%. And it was funny because people would have business cards. That was back when people actually printed business cards. I still love getting them every now and then. I'm like, oh, wow, old school. But my motto was always, my mixtape was my business card, because I had my contact info on it. And not only am I meeting you when I walk off stage, but here you can listen to me on the way home too. That was kind of like my approach to it all. Like, I was always a business. I never did drugs or partied. So like for me, going to parties was a pure music thing. You know what I mean? Wow. So I was always trying to sell myself to be able to play parties. Always. I never went there for leisure. You know what I mean? So
being a DJ, which I think is incredible, you being a DJ and actually being in a space of DJing, what made you fall in love with the art of producing music? Was it just because you were engulfed in that space?
That's an easy sound. That's an easy answer. The answer is, I found certain things about disco house, tracky house, big room house that was made in a certain era. And those DJs started progressing and changing the sound. And I couldn't find the records that I fell in love with anymore. So I started making the records that I fell in love with before, like the kick drums. Like, I like a 909 kick drum. I like an 808 clap. I like the 808 baseline sidechain to my 909 kick. Like, I like certain aspects of all of this, which I nerded out. And I was like, okay, I like this, I like that, but what I'm going to do in 2025 is I'm going to give it the baseline these guys didn't know how to do, and then learn how to sidechain it so there's no clashing on the kick drums and stuff. I learned all that stuff. My favorite elements of every house track, like your claps and your staccato triggering of vocals. That's awesome. I love that. Like, so I took that and I turned that into this with this huge bass line and this really hard kick from Robert Armani. You know what I mean? It's like, I took a little bit of everything and I learned it. You know what I mean? So that's how I got into is making music that they weren't making anymore. So,
wow.
And then giving it an edge. Cause like the one thing that even my boy Sneak said, he was like, at one point, I think it was like 2009, he goes, they're pushing house music in the second room. So when I started Ghetto Blaster in 2014, I was like, well, how do I put it back in the main room?
Right.
Make a build up like they do in EDM. Just don't overdo it. Somewhere have it do a clap roll. Use reverb, don't use white noises. Like there's things that people use, like the swooshes and the crashes and stuff, that makes it sound very new and digital. Right. You take that away and you use reverb and you use delays for the buildups and use those noises as your white noises. Now you're getting back into gear sounding stuff. So that's why Ghetto Blaster sounds, people are like, oh yeah, you're old school. I'm like, it's calculated. I'm not old school. I could smoke you in new school digital stuff, but that's not what Ghetto Blaster is. Ghetto Blaster is meant to pay homage to the 80s and 90s. with a new edge. That's what it's always been.
Wow.
So when people are like, even the record I have coming out on Friday on Tool Room, like it's me and Todd Terry, and they gave me this cool track, and I stripped it all back. And they're like, you stripped it out? I'm like, that's going to be a warehouse track now. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like I really wanted to make sure it captured the essence of my side, because I had all their pieces from their side. But how do I make it a Chicago warehouse track? Right. You know, because you made all those anthems. You know what I mean? Right. So strip it back, make it drum machine orientated, and make it really loopy and fun. So
yeah, that's one of the hardest things when you learn how to use all this stuff. You got to learn how to use the less is more theory.
Oh, 100%.
Because you can go overboard.
Well, when we first linked up on the production side of things, you guys were liking my electro. You just took a residency in Las Vegas. You go, send me some of that electro stuff because Steve's going to be playing in Vegas. So I was like, so when I was doing that, I was using 70, 80 channels on a mixing board. So when I was coming back to house music, I'm like, how do I minimize that? I go, so in MPC, there was 8 outs. So you'd have to pair things up on a channel if you even wanted to use more than 8, because you can only push out 8 channels. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was like, okay, never go past 8 channels. Whatever you do, you group shit if you have to, but that's how you get that analog sound, is don't overuse your digital stuff. That's it. So that's how Ghetto Blaster has its sound. Wow. You know what I mean?
And then how did Ghetto Blaster even come to be? Because I've known you for forever as Paul Anthony, and then here we go, poof, Ghetto Blaster. Well, and I guess you said Ocean 10 was monumental, and that was the inspiration to go forward and start.
Well, you know me, I was doing trap music at the time, and I hit #1 on trap when I was sitting there with rest in peace Dimitri. When we were sitting there, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm the guy above your guy Showtech and this other guy #1 on Beatport right now with the remix to Dead Mouse trap style." Wow. I go, but I'm not going to be doing that. Why? He's like, "Why is that?" I'm like, "Because I don't like DJing that stuff." I go, "I'm starting something named Ghetto Blaster, and it's gonna you'll know of it. You'll hit me up one day." And he did.
You know what? Rest in peace of Dimitri. Tell me a little bit about that relationship and when you found the connection between the Dimitri scenario. That's great, because that was a great story when you told it to me.
I mean, literally, it was crazy because I didn't know who this guy was. I was sitting there with you guys.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that I'm into the music side of things. He goes like, I work for Tiesto. I do this. I work for Showtech. I do music publishing. I do this, that, whatever. I'm like, oh, that's cool. He goes, what do you do? That's when I showed him what I did. And I was like, yeah, just pay attention, Ghetto Blaster one day. And literally he hit me up in 2019 saying I no longer work with Tiesto. I took a few years off. And I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here. You can edit this out. Yeah, he said, fuck me sideways. He goes, you're fucking so much further than I thought you would be. I have it in text. He goes, you're so much further than I thought you would be. I looked you up. He's like, you have so much going for you. Let me be your manager. Wow. And that's when he called you. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, rest in peace. We did a lot of great things up until the middle of the pandemic when he died. So sadly, we had some great things like the March of 2020, I ended up with like 20 plays on BBC Radio 1 due to this guy, like him making phone calls and just getting my records in the right hands. Like wow. And I asked him, I'm like, how you doing this? He's like, oh, you don't think I'm friends with Pete? He was like, you know how much money I paid these guys? He goes, they're going to take my call. So, you know what I mean? But regardless though, he had the plugs, and I was on at the time, your label. I was on my own label. I was on Dirty Bird. I was on Defected. I was on a lot.
I remember you were everywhere.
I was on a lot of things at that very moment, and that was like a domino effect. Because so what I learned from my previous careers is don't just put out a record and hope it does well. Start making a schedule. So I started making sure. Okay, so I got this one signed to Dirty Bird. Right. Okay, let's get on Defected. Right. Let's get on here. Let's get on here, and let's line them up 1 month apart. And then after this one is slowly coming out of the charts, the next one's going up the charts. And I just learned to feed off each one, and if you go in with structure, you're gonna get more results. Absolutely. I mean, it's life, right? I mean,
so listening to you talk, it sounds like you're very analytical and you learn fast. So from school days, what was your education? The education, like if you could say, like what was your favorite subject in school? Like what, even though you probably didn't use any of the stuff that you learned in school.
Well, the thing that kept my GPA up was choir. I was in choir my whole life.
Also, you were always into the music side.
I was always, and to me, I was in it for the raw reasons that I knew I could sing, but that's where all the cheerleaders were. They were all in choir. Yeah. I was like one of 4 guys in class. Yeah. And it kept my GPA up because I could sing. So I constantly got 100% in that course, that and cooking. So
that's cool.
I was terrible at math. English, I was okay. I paid someone to do my classwork, so it's all good. But But yeah, my grades were okay. But I played basketball in high school too.
Oh, cool.
I dunked the basketball first time in 8th grade, so I played some serious street ball. I was in the same circuit.
Get him out there.
I was in the same circuit with Glenn Robinson and everyone. So we had some all-stars in our little circuit.
Oh wow!
No, we'll pop the B-roll up, people, so you can see that picture of him. He got a picture of him with. He's old school with it too, with the short shorts, not the long shorts. He got Glenn the short Robinson, shorts on.
I remember the first time I played him. I was a freshman. He was a senior. I went to go take a charge. That was the dumbest thing ever. I just remember looking. The dude jumped over me and dunked it. I was like, "Oh shit! Don't take a charge on Glenn."
He was pretty
incredible in high school. You knew he was going to be in the NBA in high school. Like you could just tell he was that much more dominant than ever. I think he had like 60 points in the game.
Right. Do you still get out there at all today?
I did the other day. I can feel my age.
Hey, we all can feel our age, but I still go 3 days a week.
I mean, I can do 5 miles on a treadmill. I can do about 5 minutes on the basketball court now, like an actual game. So I gotta weather myself better to actually play. But shooting around is fun.
That's funny you say that because we were just playing with a professional football athlete.
Wow!
And he said the conditioning for a professional football is completely different than professional basketball.
Oh yeah,
like completely.
I could imagine that basketball. I mean, what I remember, because I went to every basketball camp you could think of, from Craig Hodges to Valparaiso free throw shooting. I went to all of them, but I just remember it was a lot of conditioning for like running. There was you had to do a lot of cardio to be in basketball. That's all I remember.
All those suicides and stuff.
Oh my God, that and ladders, bro. Jesus. And my calves hurt just thinking about saying that. Or strength shoes. Did you ever use strength shoes before?
No.
It's the shoes with the platforms on, so you're on your tippy toes the whole time. That's how I learned how to dunk, because I built my calves up early on.
Oh, I might have to.
I had like a 30-inch vertical jump at one point in my life.
Yeah,
about 3 inch now.
No, it's not too late. It's never too late. And everybody out there, it is never too late to pursue a dream or do something that you set your mind to do. If you want to do it, go out and do it. Make it happen. That's that. So yeah, but let me ask you, Paul.
Yeah.
Who were some of your influences, like the people that have really triggered you and put you in the mindset of saying, "Man, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this"? Because I'm sure everyone is different in their own respect. Who influenced you in your journey?
I mean, every era was somebody different. So like the early era, it was Steve, it was Farley, it was Bad Boy Bill. Bad Boy Bill's probably been the one that stayed relevant with the new times every time. Like every time that he would do something, like he would be playing the newest music. So I remember with Bill was like, I learned early on, I learned scratching, and then I learned dig for the newest records and try to play them before everybody. That's what Bill was always good at. You know what I mean? And like, you as like incredible vocal house, make sure you play records that people remember. You know what I mean? Because you can play all the tracks you want, but if you don't have words, they're not remembering it fully, and they can't even call it out at the record store. Right. The phone calls I took at the record store, I'd be like, someone would be like, "Hey, there's just one track." I'm like, "Hey, can you hold out 1 second?" I would get everyone from the record. I go, "Everyone, come over here," and I'd have 20 people shopping. I'm like, "Hey, listen." Put on speaker. I'm like, "How'd that song go again?" And then like, and then everyone in the store would just be laughing. They'd be calling, singing some crazy shit.
Yeah.
So back to what you were saying, like the inspirations, like in different eras, you know, then the 90s. I never knew I was going to make records. Just the fact that I'm sitting here with you right now, Steve, is crazy to me, because you were in the ballpark of some of the first records that I ever bought.
Wow.
So to know that me and you would do records together, and the fact that we're homies, this is crazy, bro. Like I would have never expected that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's cool. I saw what you were doing though. I was like, when younger people say stuff like that, to me, I want them to always know that it's mutual, because I'm always watching the next people coming up. Just like you said, you get excited. You want to hear this guy from Germany. Yeah. There's DJing. You're excited about that because you love music, and you love just the art of it. So when I see you up there doing crabs, I never learned how to do crabs. So I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. I'm like always just standing there just like this. So this is just as cool for me to be sitting here with you, and they actually hear your story and hear what else is behind you other than the crabs.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Scratching and all that stuff, because I always think of Bill. I would think that Bill would be probably your biggest influence. When I see you DJ, because it's like your styles.
Flipping through records fast and scratching. Yeah, that was definitely bad. And then
the high intensity of it.
At that moment, too, it was a cross between two. Terry Mullins, the other one, too. Because I like the undergroundness of Terry Mullen. He played some of the best acid house, which then led me to know who DJ Pierre was and Hard Floor and things that I would have never known had it not been for Terry playing these records. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because, man, I wish we had Shazam in the 90s. Right. I would have figured out the pyramids by then. You know what I mean? Had I known, you know, like what the records were. But, you know, going on these searches, trying to find these records was always tough. And trying to explain acid house to the record store, like try to sing that one to them.
You know, it goes
the real creaky sounds. Yeah. So that was a thing too. And like that's like I said, every era was something else. And then learning how to actually use an MPC. I'll never forget. My friend was like, "You want to learn the MPC?" I was like, "Sure." He grabbed the owner's manual. He threw it in the garbage. He was like, "Let me show you how to load the disc." And then it's all creativity from there.
Wow.
Right? So I learned that, and I was trying to make disco house. And I couldn't fucking figure it out for the life of me because like the sampling process on an MPC was a lot harder.
Right.
So then I had to learn to get a sound program and cut my samples. And from there, I was like, let's just use the synthesizer and write original shit. And that's how I started making electro right off the rip when I was making records. Okay. So the electro thing went from a very raw electro thing into clubby electro with the Steve Angelo movement in 2006. And I started a group with Mike Gillenwater. We did the Funk Monkeys. And our boy Harrison Crump was our big move on the first couple records. He had us do a remix too. And this is all out of relationships from other things.
Right.
He was like, "Hey man," he's like, "I like what you're doing musically." He's like, "What do you want to do a remix for me and Dajé on Subliminal?" So like I got thrown into the wolves right off the rip. I had to make a record for Eric Murillo, who is probably the pickiest A&R guy ever. So at that point, we did a couple records for Subliminal. And then that's when I realized the power of the record label. I was like, I'm getting requests to go to Ibiza and going to Bulgaria and Romania and Poland, like weird places off the fact that I had this logo after my name.
Wow.
And it was very powerful. And then when I got to Ibiza, the first time I see Eric Murillo's face on a billboard, I was like, oh, wow, they're like superstars here. This is crazy. Wow. You know what I mean? So for me, that was like a whole, I need to do more of this. And Paul, of course, chiming in like my dad, "I told you to make records, man. That's what gets you Chicago people over there." Right. He's like, "You can make anything on a sequencer and they'll take it because you're from Chicago." That's what he was telling me. He's like, "Make a track, bro. Like it will work." And he was right. The more and more I did records, the more and more I saw myself getting on airplanes. And that was a trip because I was like, you could DJ outside of Chicago? Wow. All right. This is some different shit.
Yeah. So you wanted to do disco and then you just didn't nail it. And so you had influences throughout the 90s that I'm sure was leading you. So what were those and who were those influences? And then what was it about those individuals that gave you that?
So the disco was definitely Paul and Sneak. These two guys were like the king of sampling disco, and to the point where I didn't know it was disco. It was just a new record to me. Right. Like the Burnin' record on Dust Tracks or like any of the Platform 74 records that Sneak put out. Or the Camouflage records. These were all filtered disco tracks. And I had no idea that's what they were doing. I thought they were writing the music. And then when I found out they were taking samples and then filtering it and sidechaining into a kick drum, and then writing a whole new, like Junior Jack revolutionized the game with writing a bass line to the disco record instead of using the disco sample. Because initially we would sample the disco record, low pass it to get the rumble, and then leave it normal for the top. So you had the bass line bigger on the bottom.
Yep.
That was the cheater way of doing it until you learn how to write the bass lines, you know what I mean? So I had to learn that too. And like all these things and it was funny. This is why electro became big for me, because I took the sample away and the track was way better with just the bass line. I was like, sick, get rid of the sample. That was a nice little, tutor thing, but now we're good with the track by itself. And now it's original. So I have a lot of records that I did early in my electro career that were literally disco bass. And I took the sample out and then just got a new vocalist over the top. So,
So how did that sound evolve?
I mean, it definitely evolved in every platform that I started making music on, from the MPC all the way into software now. It just keeps getting better every year. And there's new techniques of EQing, side chaining, different compressors that come out that it's just making me get better and better over time. That's how to me, once you learn how to make music, it's creativity and quality. That's all you got to worry about at that point. And once you learn how to do all that stuff, then it's really all creativity. And that's where the touring helps as a producer. Like for me, I can go play 10 banging parties, and I can't wait to get in the studio and let it all just pour out. And then it's funny because I'll go like 3 weeks without making a record, then I'll come in, I'll bang out 10 in 1 week.
Wow. Yeah. So what's your production routine or your rituals, or like take us through Paul Anthony stepping in front of the equipment and getting ready to move forward and do something special as far as some production?
So very, very simply, what the first thing I do is I make my music folders that I write my drums and stuff with. I make that as simplistic as possible, because you buy a sample pack and you have 100 kick drums. I narrow it down to my 10 favorite kick drums, 10 favorite claps, 10 favorite hats. I try not to go too crazy. I don't use any loops. Even though Splice is a great tool to learn how to do stuff. Mm-hmm. I write everything original. I don't use any loops of any sort. Mm-hmm. So I prefer it that way. That's why That's why I did a sample pack for Tool Room. Like I did a signature series because my sound is so signature to what I do. They asked me to be a sample pack maker for one round. So I did that. Wow. So now it's funny hearing records come out on other labels that are big producers, and I hear my loops, and I'll just hit him. I hit a guy right now in Australia. I was like, hey, I'm not going to say his name right now because it's still in the production, but I was like, hey, I heard you use one of my samples from the sample pack. He's like, bro, you're a genius. Let's work on music together. I'm like, so you're a genius. Let's do it. Right. And then all of a sudden that created a collab. So the step is, I always start with simplifying my drum folders right off the rip. Like every month I make my own sample pack for myself to use for my own music. So that way I'm not veering off anything. This is my shit. Mm-hmm. And from there, I start with my kick drums. I go into a bass line. If I have a vocal concept, then I'll do the vocal first and then write the bass line around the vocal. It just depends.
Did you say you actually still use the MP?
No, not anymore.
Are you just still using the...
I'm using FL Studio. I'm in FL Studio now.
Wow.
And I got all the load-up discs from the MPCs.
So with the sample packs, do you use a sampler within there, or do you just lay them out?
All software.
Oh, okay. You just...
Yeah, everything's in the software.
Just pull the stuff in.
I'm all inbox. And the thing is, I also have all the original MPC drums, MPC 60, MP 2000, 3000. And I'll layer drums and make my own sample packs from scratch. And then just new synthesizers that have drum patterns in them and stuff. I'll pick up some new kick drums and stuff on the way, but that's kind of generally how I do everything, is in the box. And then I've made my own. I had a Joe Mox, which was a 808 and a 909 in one drum machine, a MIDI drum machine. I recorded probably 3,000 different type of hits pitched differently and all kinds of stuff. And I just have that in there and I just kind of pick through, because sometimes I like them punchier. Sometimes I like them bassier. It just depends on the month, really. Yeah. Like you get influenced by what you're hearing at parties, and once you try a couple of your own tracks on a system that's got 180 double 18s and you hear the way it hits, you're like, oh, that's too big or not big enough. You start judging when you play out a lot. Like at one point in the last couple of years, I think I was averaging 4 to 6 shows a week. Wow. Traveling. Like it was pretty intense. I've since 2020, I've done over 500 shows around the world. So I've been pretty jet set. It's been kind of crazy. So.
Do you ever lose touch when you just gone so much? Do you realize, like, man,
Miami Music Week, I'm doing 7 shows in 3 days. So.
Wow.
That's a little crazy, but.
Now let me ask you, with your remixes and production, what are the ones that stick out to you the most, or the ones that mean almost the most to you that you've been a part of or that you've produced or remixed?
That's tough because I probably have 600 records out at this point. But to narrow them down, the people I love working with the most, I loved working with Deeon. Deeon was super fun to work with in his studio. He would actually drive, at the time I was living in Michigan, he would drive from Chicago in a snowstorm with his boy Trans. They would drive all the way to Michigan, offered them a hotel, stay at the house. They were like, no, we'll drive back. But we did an 18-hour session just recording tracks, drums, vocals, and that will live in my brain forever. That was like super cool. And then we had a second session off that session at Bill's house, and he refused to do the vocal until we all got in the booth with him. He's Missy, get in the booth. Paul, at the time, Zach was part of the group. He's like, Zach, everyone come in here. And he's like, all right, now we're all going to say the line together, and we're not going to do it we're not going to leave until it's done right. And we did the remake of Hose in this house. Mm-hmm. And this is before Cardi B did it too. So that's why it took so long for it to come out, because then she dropped it in the pandemic. We had this record done. I'm like, man, we were just going to drop this record. So we had to wait, you know what I mean? But it was cool though, because, we finally nailed it. And it was funny because when I did it was actually sad, but when I did the commemorative tribute mix for him for Radio FG, I had that vocal session. So I played the track And I cut the music and I went straight to the live session. Hey, Missy, come in here. And I had that whole part inside the mix where he was telling us to come in the booth and we were all like getting it. And you could hear us off time, on time. And then we're finally all on time. And I'm like, that's it. That's a cut. Wow. He's like, you big freak. I know you like titties. You know, I mean, Deeon's awesome, man. The shit that came out of his mouth was incredible. But yeah, that was a great session. And then, Missy and I had a record that we did at the end of the pandemic. And I just remember having a conversation with Bill that night. He's like, you need a real big one, man. He's like, you need one. He's like, that will set you off on touring. You need one big record. And I was like, you act like I can't do that. He's like, oh, well, then do it. I was like, put my money where my mouth is. All right, cool. And then I had to get off the phone with him, and I don't know why Croatia Squad called me at 2 a.m, but the pandemic, we got weird phone calls at weird times. So my boys blazed over it. He's like, bro, you need a big record. So I got 2 guys in one night telling me I need a big record. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, I told Missy, I'm like, come downstairs. I go, I need you to do a vocal for me. We're going to write this out. I go, I want to know how you felt the first time you heard house music fucked up at a party. And she wrote this whole story. And I cherry picked all the things I thought made a good song. And then I had her say them all. And then I decided for like Thompson and Lamar did, that's the group that did HOUS, Pledge Allegiance House. They spelt out house. And I was like, well, we're going to spell out house. And instead of just saying it once, this is our hook. Right. So then we did it. And then I was like, all right, so the piano line, I go, okay, so which one of my friends had a massive record? I'm like, Paul Johnson, Get It Down. Okay, so we need a piano in here that sounds like Get It Down piano, but we can't write the same line. We got to write something totally different. And apparently I stumbled upon a Latin line. I didn't know I wrote a Latin because I don't play the piano. I'm a piano roll. I'm a piano roll guy. So I'm like writing it out until it sounds right. This whole process took 3 hours. That record's at like 4 million streams right now and it sold 56,000 downloads. Wow. So that was a big record for us. And we didn't expect it to be.
A big record for me.
We had no idea it was that morning.
I never played that record and people didn't react. Like, that's one of those type of records. Like, it just, I didn't play in any room. Yeah. I'm saying I just, every time I play it, no matter what room it's in, it reacts.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't play the record for the whole, when the pandemic, right off the rip, we did 78 shows in 7 months coming out the pandemic. Bill and I were playing a show and he's like, did you play HOUSE? I'm like, no. He's like, why? That's your biggest record. I'm like, I mean, play it. So he played it. I saw them blow up. I'm like, fuck, I should be playing. I should be playing this record.
I end up playing everybody else's records but mine.
Right? It's crazy.
Like, what are you doing? And then he's like, where are the SNS records?
Right? But am I wrong though? But once you start playing your records, then that's all you're playing is only your records.
And you're like, oh wait, what about this one?
Yeah,
this
one. You start remembering. Yeah, man, it's crazy.
But
so
I'm like always looking for stuff, from everywhere, not just our label, but sometimes I get off the tracks and I forget about our own stuff,
Yeah, we're music lovers. We love I still record shop on a weekly basis on Beatport. I spend $100 a week. No questions. That's not awesome. I will buy that before food.
Wow. Yeah, every time I would go over to Europe, if I was in Italy, I'd spend about $200 there. Yeah. And then I was in Switzerland, it could be the same trip. And I'd spend another $150 there. And if I go to the UK, the same trip, next thing you know, I spent $500 in records. Because I'm not really because I'm in the studio all the time, I'm not really record shopping that much at home. But when I'm out of town, I'm kind of like, I'm not in the studio. That was before you could be on a laptop in the studio. So you had to be in a studio to be in the studio. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So as long as, if I'm on the road, I want to make sure that I'm not playing any of the same records. Like you always say, how you never wanted to play the same records anywhere you went. Because you were in Ibiza, right?
Yeah. That was, I mean, you just couldn't. Well, Paul from the same place. You would have to have a different set every week.
In Ibiza, you're playing the Olympics of DJing. You're in boot camp. You have every club has 100 DJs per day. If you don't dig for your records, you're going to play the same 5 records the other guy played. You have to. Am I wrong?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And they're all people that are like curating their music off of what's hot. So how do you stay hot without playing the same records? Yeah. So.
It was a joy and an art to play records that the next guy didn't play that you actually sought after. You know, you would sit in a record store for shoot, for hours.
Oh, yeah.
Hours with just putting a needle on a record for hours.
Yeah.
Just going through it. You may go through 50, 60 records and only leave with 4.
Then even when you choose those records, you want to find the best, for me at least, I want to find the best part of the record. Because I came from the disco days where the breaks and the vamps were all in the middle. Yep. So I used to pick up the needle, I could see the break, I'd be like, wait, that's right there. I want it to come in right there, bam. And then I get the other copy and I bring in the part that they want to sing along with on the other thing. So I was like rearranging the record as I was spinning. Yeah, so I still do that to this day. I don't really just play records from the beginning unless the intro is just great.
Yeah.
I mean, some people get that intro right.
What's funny is actually one of my friends told me back when I first started doing records, he was like, listen, I DJ so much. If it's hard to mix, I'm not playing your record. He's like, I will listen to it if it doesn't have a clean intro and a clean outro. He's like, I'm trying records out at festivals. Yeah. He goes, so it has to be easy to mix. If it's not easy, so I make sure if you listen to any of my records that are not radio edits, it has 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds intro, 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds outro, so you can mix anything with it.
Right.
You know, that, and for that reason, because as much as I want to have 2 copies of everything, 3 copies of everything, sometimes in vinyl days, it wasn't
that kind of changed recently because back in the day, I had to do that. I had to, because I was playing music that wasn't DJ friendly. Some records didn't have 16 bars or 8 bars. They had like 12 bars. Some of them had like 10 beats at the beginning.
Yeah, like and if you're DJing a lot, you need
had to know
copies.
What that was. Yeah.
I remember there's certain records I probably had 16 copies of the same record because I needed 2, and legitimately it was pressed like shit. So like I'm burning through these records trying to find the fucking break. You know what I mean? So like I feel like I was way after that era, but but the same thing though. You know when we're trying to play throwbacks like Lime, that was like a group. Yeah. Bro, it's not easy to DJ. You got to find the breaks. You know what I mean? Like certain records. So
that's why during the 90s when I was doing a lot of remixes, I always made them DJ friendly.
Hell yeah!
And I mean, I always had them in 8 bars. Oh,
you had the best intro on Searching. That record is a nice long intro, and what was it called? Nobody, was that another one?
Nobody
with CC.
Nobody else.
Yeah, it was
Oh, okay.
Incredible intro. You could play that for fucking 3 minutes before the vocal comes in. That was awesome.
That's when I used to do those 13-minute mixes and stuff.
But that was crazy. That needs to come back because that's when people felt the music and they felt the change in a track. Remember Mike 303?
Yeah.
Don't touch that dial. It took 6 minutes to get to that point. But at the rave, when they said don't touch that dial, that digital voice, they lost it.
They lost it.
Today, you can't keep anyone's attention longer than 45 seconds. So it's a different era.
Now.
I was going to ask you that. What do you think the biggest change in the music industry is right now, or even within our particular specific genre, but the industry as a whole?
Social media, 100%. You didn't need to have social media in the 90s. Right. You could be cool by just playing a good party, you get booked. Nowadays, like if you are not visually cool, you're not getting booked.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Like it's a whole different game now.
Yeah.
Like trying to tell people how, like Jonas Temple that created Beatport is one guy who gave me the best and worst advice because I'm a producer. So I didn't like the advice, but it was good advice. He was like, yo, stop making records. I'm like, what do you mean stop making records? He's like, bro, everyone already knows you're a dope producer. He's like, there's some 16-year-old kid who's crushing social media with 500,000 followers. He's going to want to become a DJ tomorrow, put out some crappy record, but he's more famous than you on social media. He's going to be bigger than you instantly. And there's some science to that. It makes sense. Right. So like the story is you have to learn how to equal your popularity here with this and that. Like right now, my weak link is TikTok. I need to get more active on TikTok. And it takes consistency. That's all it is. And good material. Like I always tell people when you're doing your social media, and I'm not going to give all the secrets, but I'll give you one secret. When you're doing your stories, you have to show a story. It's like a reality show. It's like a 13-second glimpse of your life. So when you're putting together a 2-minute clip, if I'm uninterested by 30 seconds, I'll just go to the next page.
Right. And
then the next DJ is going to get popular because his 30 seconds is crushing. So you're telling your story, tell a good story. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That doesn't mean tap dance. That doesn't mean break dance. That means stay on brand. You know, because I have friends who are like, oh, dude, I got 1 million views. I put some makeup on and did. I'm like, yeah, but you're a producer. What are you selling here? Are you selling lip filler here or are we selling beats? Like, what are we doing? You know, so like, it's cool. But to me, I'm like, I like to stay on brand. You know what I mean? So
that's true.
What kind of advice would you give to the young aspiring DJs, producers, entrepreneurs, etc.?
My number one advice to everyone, they go, what's the one thing that has gotten you where you're at? And I said, don't listen to anybody. Like literally, like someone tries to tell you some shit. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Everyone's journey is different. So don't listen to anyone. Don't let anyone tell you can't. Like the words that anyone I've worked with, if you say can't, won't, I don't know, you're out. Let's figure it out. I can, let's do it. That's what I want to hear. These are the things I hear. And if you don't say these things, you are off my team.
Right.
As simple as that.
I get that.
I keep it very simple because it's always trial and error in this business. And this takes me to what we were talking when we walked in this. Listen, man, the bigger you get, the more you have to work. Like there isn't like that. That was one of the problems I had with someone I did business with. They were just like, we got to a certain point and they were just like, cool, cruise control. Okay, cruise control. The 19-year-old is going to smoke us then. Like just because we got here doesn't mean it's done yet. Yeah. Like we have a lot of work to do. And,
no cruise control.
And when you look at this as work, you should quit. Because this ain't work. I'll put 150 hours in and I'm like, let's do 150 more. I mean, I get mad. I get mad because I'll be working 100 hours in the studio and I have to get on a plane and go to a gig. And that's usually when I'm the most inspired, when I know I have to leave.
You're right.
Like, it's almost like I see why Paul canceled a couple of gigs. Cause I'm like, man, I'd rather stay in the studio. Fuck the gig. You know what I mean? Cause I don't get gigs without this feeling. Right. There's been moments where I'm like, thank God it's not hardware and I turn it off. It will be there when I get back. Nothing worse than turn off a synthesizer and you lose your patch. You know what I mean? That's the old school shit. You know what I mean?
Wow. Now, how do you stay motivated in this competitive landscape where everybody's a DJ now?
Well, I come from sports. So competitive, let's go.
Right.
You make it tough, let's go harder.
Yeah, you play basketball. So if you had to do that, this is child's play compared to being on the court.
100%. Like I was taught at a very, very young age, man. Like if it's not competitive, I don't want to do it. There's that. You know what I'm saying? There's no challenge and it's easy.
So it's a thrill in winning. Like you drive yourself to like win, but like personal goals, almost like
all personal goals. I don't do this for anybody else.
Right.
If you don't like my records, cool. I don't care. I like my records, and I'm the hardest person to impress. So. You know what I mean? When it comes to my music, like I want it a certain way. And I love when people try to give me advice on a track. I'm like, oh, really? Cool. It's my record. Like I calculatedly did this. Like it wasn't just because it's stripped down and it's not what you do. Well, I sell more records than you. So you know what I mean? No offense, but you know, like whoever would tell me.
You can't let people take you off track.
No, and that's my one thing is don't let anyone steer you off what you're doing. And the number one thing, the number one goal or the number one advice is never quit. You will never succeed if you quit. You're done. Right. You're done right there.
You could be right at the finish line and don't even know it.
And not even because that's usually
you were just about to be there and then you quit.
Yeah, man, you could be negative $25,000 in your bank account, and that next one is the one that made you $100,000 in one day.
Right.
So at the end of the day, like if you quit, you never figure it out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? People broke down and lost it during the pandemic. I wrote 120 records during the pandemic, 120, and I signed them all. They're all sound. They're all out. They all hit the top 100. Every single one unanimously.
Wow.
That was a personal challenge. Like I was like, I could sync. I had a meeting with everyone on my team the day the pandemic was announced. We're shutting down for 2 weeks. Like, this is gonna be longer than 2 weeks. So we can go crazy.
Right.
Or we could figure out what we're gonna do when it opens. So I made records and I thought to myself, you know who's home right now? Everybody had defected. They're not in a visa right now. They're actually reading their emails, waiting for the next cool email. Same thing with Dirty Bird, same thing with Populate Mars, same thing with Chami's label. Like you can go down the list of all the labels I'm on. I'm on all the biggest, dopest labels. They were checking their emails. I signed to more labels during the pandemic while everyone was like, do I make records or do I not? I'm like, I'm signing them. I don't care what you do because now DJs are playing on live streams.
Right.
So now everybody's a DJ, not just the big DJs. Right. Now, like the little guy has a platform. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I actually streaming. I don't know if you noticed this on your streaming reports. Everything was up 30%. Sales, streaming, everything during the pandemic. It dipped when it opened.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Because nobody was home after that. Everyone was at the parties after that. So point being though, is I was like, this is how you get noticed by everybody. Yeah. And it worked for me. I'm not going to lie. It worked for a couple. John Summit's another guy I work for. He kicked ass during the pandemic and now he's one of the biggest DJs in the world. So, you know what I'm saying? Like there's something to be said for people who grind during a time everyone's uncertain of what to do. Why change the program?
Right. Now, what was it about the shift? Because I noticed you play so many different genres of music and you're able to go left and right. Your DJ's DJ. I've seen that firsthand. Mm-hmm. You can scratch, beat match, and perform and entertain and command a crowd. What were you accepted from a Ghetto House standpoint? Because I know you kind of dabble in that. Would you call it Ghetto House or would you call it something else?
It's an influence in my music for sure. I'll make a Ghetto House track from time to time, like a full on Ghetto House track. Mm-hmm. But there's things of the genre that I like. I like the stripped downness. I like the way they trigger the vocals. I like the way the Ghetto House community keeps things simple and energetic by just the way the programming is. And to do fills versus build-ups, like I told you before, like for me, I'm trying to stay as analog sounding as possible in the digital era. Mm-hmm. So I love that about it. The only thing I don't like about it is they've sped it up so fast that I want to keep it at a tempo that can go with house guys or techno guys. Because that was the beauty of Ghetto House and I don't even know if Ghetto House is the term. Booty House, Chicago Tracks is more a term that I like to use because, like, let's not profile where people are from on the music. You know, let's call it warehouse tracks is really what it is. It's raw warehouse tracks. Mm-hmm. And I say that because it's all stemmed from, you know, the early, like, Jack Your Bodies, the Time to Jacks, the Faces drums. This is where Ghetto House is from. It's not from the vocal side of it. It's more from the tracky side of it. And they just amplified it, sped it up, bigger drums. And every era is different. You know, DJ Funk did it completely different than everyone. He had more Two Live Crew style beats. If you study Two Live Crew and you study DJ Funk, now you know where the fills come from. You know what I mean? You know, so like, rest in peace Funk too. That's another guy I made some incredible records with. And we've done some amazing things together. He's a good friend. And like I was saying with the DJ Funk stuff, like when you listen to his tracks, you can see how he's very influenced by Two Live Crew's drumming. You know what I mean? And he does it his own way too. You know, rest in peace, DJ Funk. We've done some incredible records together. Me and him we did Booty Shake. Actually we did Get That on Dirty Bird was our first like one with Ghetto Blaster. And it was funny because, we did the record. We had met up at Dirty Bird Camp Out. I had road managed for Deeon at that party. It was right before we went to Europe the first time. Wow. And Funk was there. I didn't even know he's on the lineup. We hadn't seen each other since I lived in Denver. So it was really good to reconnect with him. I'm like, why aren't we making records? He goes, I don't know. Why aren't we making records? So he sent me over a folder of a whole bunch of vocals. And I had some previously from like a decade before. Somehow I still had them. And I made some tracks and he was like, cool, shop it. And I signed it to Dirty Bird and that took off. It got played. The way I do Ghetto House or tracky house versus the Chicago guys who do tracky house is I make it more appealing to tech house guys and house guys with the tempo change. Mm-hmm. And I was a big advocate of that. I told that to Deeon early on too, you know, and he was like, thank you for telling me that. Cause that opened me up to like a plethora of gigs in Europe because I didn't play it so fast. Mm-hmm. Because I was able to play house events along with techno events. I just sped it up at techno events, slowed it down at house events. And my big inspiration from that, when I started Ghetto Blaster, my buddies Amin, Edge and Dance they were calling it G House. Mm-hmm. And they were writing deep house beats and taking Wu-Tang, pitching their vocals down. And they were like, dude, I'm like, okay, so we could sample hooks from Wu-Tang and trigger it like Ghetto House, or we could just pay homage to the Ghetto House guys and get them on the tracks and feature them and give them some light instead of trying to sound like it. Let's work with everybody. You know, I was from Chicago. So for me, it was easy to get on the phone with Deeon. It wasn't so easy for me. And I was like, hey, what's up? And this guy goes, you've emailed me 30 times in the last year. He was like, I'll do the damn record. Like, that's how it went down, you know? And then I got him on a vocal and he's like, yo, man, I really like this. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. And we inspired each other. You know, he's like, I like your work ethic because I was putting out a record every week at that point. Wow. He was like, that's crazy. He goes, I make a record every week. I don't put them out. I go, you need to start putting them out. And that's when he started his band camp and start putting records out like crazy. So, wow. It was definitely a good inspiration back and forth. You know, I was like, the idea of what you did in the 90s, him, Sluggo, Funk, like the idea of the hook that is stuck in your head for days. That's what I love about Ghetto House. Like that to me, like doesn't matter what it is. It could be super explicit. It could be not explicit, but the catchiness of it is what I really love. So am I a Ghetto House producer? Fuck yeah. I'm one of the best. Am I a tech house producer? Yeah, I'm one of the best, but I fuse it all together. Right. I try not to, you're not going to put me in a category. That's never going to happen. Never going to happen.
That's like, I do vocal records, but I'm not like a vocal house producer.
Right.
That's not,
for sure.
That's not, you know what I'm saying? I've been fortunate enough to work with some great singers.
Yeah.
So yeah, those records are
You've done some incredible shit.
But like you gave the example of Searching, the intro on that is not like a vocal house record. No. It's more tracky.
The vocal part of it is the surprise because it's a track all the way up until the vocal comes in. It's a dope drum track. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's a big thing.
Yeah, I almost want to start doing stuff like that in my next wave of, I got another album coming, but the album after that, I probably want to do some stuff.
What synthesizer did you use in the bass line on that and The Word Is Love? I feel like it was the same bass line synthesizer. What synth did you use for that?
On The Word Is Love, I sampled, I had a bass player come in and play a disco bass line. Okay. But I told him exactly how to play it. Yeah. Because it was like some old Jackson 5 record where they played the bass a certain way, and I had him play it like that, but it wasn't even the same bass line. I just hit it like that. So then when I ended up with the part that goes ding.
Oh yeah.
But ding. I just found those notes. Yeah. But it was not played that way by the bass player. Mm-hmm. He actually
isn't it funny? Like I don't know if this happens with you, but I have these epiphanies in my studio when I'm writing a bass line. And then I take it off the grid and I slide it around and all of a sudden it has this weird shit that it wasn't supposed to be originally. Right. And you're like, that's the hit. There it is. And it's just from sliding shit around the way it's not supposed to be.
Yeah. So that Word Is Love, that was like my remix of a remix of a remix. I did like 4 different versions. That's an example of like, don't give up. Don't, stick with it. Because that particular song, the original version that was on the record was not even the original version. That was a remix that I did. Then that anthem mix ended up being the one. Yeah. But I went through a lot of hell to get there. Like where you're doubting whether it sounds good. And I was right that it didn't sound right. Yeah. Until the end when I got that anthem, that bass line on there, then I knew I finally figured it out. And I was able to keep the same drums that didn't even sound that good with the original. But they sounded great with the disco bass line, but I didn't create those drums for the disco bass line. Right. I created those drums for the original version.
Exactly.
But those drums hit hard for the disco bass line one.
Sure. Yeah. So has this ever happened to you too, where like you listen to the 5 records that you made before your hit record, you're like, damn, I was leading up to this. They're all kind of like that. Oh, okay. But then you finally nailed it. Yeah. And you didn't even know you nailed it because you saw the sales and you're like, oh, I guess I nailed it.
Yeah. And then Searching, you asked about Searching. I just, I don't even think that one had it was just like some.
Sounded like a slap bass in it too.
It was it was more of a sound. Yeah. I think that was kind of inspired by Percolator and like what Cashmere was doing with his records, Brighter Days and all that, like just making it more raw like that. Yeah. That's the way I approached the track, kind of. Yeah. Although it wasn't just like it, it just had some elements in it that made it feel like that type of stuff. Yeah. And then it was like a whistle sound and all that stuff. But I don't even think I had an actual bass line in it. You're probably hearing like the more Cashmere.
Yeah, probably a little where it popped through and stuff, I'm sure. One thing that's funny too, you were asking me inspirations. How crazy is this? In 2017, Gemini was my inspiration. A guy who hadn't put a record out in 25 years. What? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm listening to his tracks. Now listen to his tracks, go listen to 5 of my new tracks and you tell me who I was inspired by. I'm just saying that like some of these B-sides of Relief records were the gems. They're the gems now. They weren't the gems then. They were like, okay, let's just go to this record, let's go to that record. But now you have that record, so you flip it over, you're like, why did I sleep on this? This is it. You know?
Yeah. So you let the inspiration hit you. So it's pretty much whatever you hear and you just deliver from that point. You don't go in with it crafted in your mind. Mm-hmm. You just take it. Like, for example, we were pretty impressed with the way that you approached those samples that we had sent over to you, the vocal riffs. Mm-hmm. And we had no idea what you were going to do with them. But then
and that was CC and Fast Eddie, I remember.
No, that was that. And then you did the, what was it? The
Beat It
and
Beat the Box.
Beat the Box.
I did Beat the Box, and you did.
I forgot the other one.
What's funny about those records too, these were, and for those of you listening, these guys gave me name drops for my radio show. And I chopped them up and turned them into tracks. I went, hey, what do you guys think about this? And you were like, screw it, let's go.
Yeah.
I forgot what was the one we did. I don't know. We did Jack It Up and then Beat the Box. And then I forgot. I don't remember.
Yeah. Way to throw me
I'm 300 records.
I remember doing Beat the Box.
Yeah, I'm 300 records past already.
Bang it.
Bang it.
Bang it. Yes, bang it.
Yeah, and if you listen to that, there's animal noises in that track.
Yeah. Did you put animal noises in?
Yeah, that's definitely like a chimpanzee or some weird shit.
Hilarious.
I did one with Bill, That Way Bill. It was the Fine Day remake. If you listen to the breakdown, there's elephants in that one.
Wow.
I don't know why. Like I'll hear something. I'm like, all right, let's put this in there. I don't know. There's like tonality that I'm hearing in my head, and I'm like, well, it sounds like that. Well, put a fucking reverb on it.
I'm sure somebody would tell you not to put the elephants in the thing too. So you didn't listen. So
yeah, no, for sure.
Normally in a jammed market, I know that you were remixing and doing all kinds of stuff like Hugo. You guys ended up connecting.
Oh yeah,
years later and found to have a.
We were in Vegas at Access. I go, you were on S&S Records with me doing a remix for Kanye West like a long time ago, right? He's like, oh shit, you know about my old name? I go, yeah. I go, I was Paul Anthony. He's like, oh wow, okay. We were on the same project, and now he's one of the biggest DJs in the world right now. I think he's sitting at like 20 million monthly listeners on Spotify. He's killing it.
That's incredible. Now, with a one-tracker type of an industry, what made you decide to do a whole album and just drop an album on us? Like that was, we were laughing. We like, it's 1,000 records on this thing. And every one was specific to something and features some incredible people.
This new one that I'm doing right now?
The one that you previously had done.
Yeah. Well, I have one coming out right now that's kind of similar.
Similar to that?
Similar. So what I did with the new one right now, which I'm going to do a shameless plug on Acid Ice Cream. But what's cool about it is like, to be able to work with the people that I've worked with is a blessing. It's incredible that I grew up with people who themselves didn't know they were going to become legends. You know what I'm saying? They were just doing it because they loved it. Like Bill said it the best. He was like, so I watched him do an interview and they were like, so who created house music? He's like, bro, that's a stupid question to ask anybody, because at the moment that Chicago house is being made, it wasn't that we were trying to see who did it first. It was something super cool and fresh that we all wanted to be part of. So who did it first? I don't know, but there was a group of us that did it around the same time.
Right.
Because which record was first, I don't know. And that's why the $1 million questions out there.
Right.
Who created it?
Yeah.
That's always going to be an argument here in the city. In my opinion, is the downfall of the city. Everyone needs to embrace that they were a big part of the fabric of it. To me, that's the most important part. Yep. If it wasn't for you, Chip, Farley, Bill, Kenny Jam, and Jason, I don't know where we'd be. I don't know how far ahead or far behind we'd be, but everyone played such a key role in that.
We were playing each other's records. We were, in my case, I was playing reel to reels. I was playing.
If it wasn't you playing at this party and him playing at that party, all on the same night playing each other's records, where would we be? I don't know. Like it's such an important piece to it, So who cares who created it? I'm just glad y'all did. That's all I can say, because I came the generation after with my first name.
And we were all playing Jamie Principle stuff on cassette, and before anybody put a record out. Yeah. So, we got to always give him his just due, because he really helped to spearhead and give us the inspiration to want to put out records.
And he's one of those guys too, when you hear his voice, it's him. You know it's him. I know it's him. There's no, could that be him? No, it's him. Yep. Like Jamie Principle is very unique. He's definitely an artist I'd like to work with.
I thought he was from London or something. Because he sounded like David Bowie, because that was one of his influences.
Like new wave kind of almost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting take on house music. I loved it. It was good. Like a Cold World. That was him, right?
Yeah, Cold World.
Mystery.
Waiting on My Angel. And
Mystery,
Your Love,
something.
Of course.
Yeah, those are all.
Your Love was 82.
I still have all of it on my drive. I still have your records on my drive. I'll be honest with you. Like there's those key moments where I'm just going to drop it at some point somewhere, always.
See, that's incredible. So let me ask you this, just even speaking about that and some of these vintage classic records, what's a record in your collection? What if you dropped it, people would be like, I can't believe he dropped that. Like that would just totally shock the room.
That's tough too, man. There's so many. Like I have a folder dedicated just to the oh shit crowd. Like, oh shit, I can't believe he dropped that. You know what I mean? Right. Like, definitely Jack Your Body, definitely Cold World, Plastic Man Spastic. That's like a staple, and all because I'm so in between everything. It's an instrumental drum track that just I can speed it up, slow it down. It always works. Everyone's like, damn, I haven't heard that in 10 years. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I think Steve Poindexter, Computer Madness is the one that people don't even know what kind of synthesizer that is. They're like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's crazy, right? You know, and the RZ1 in general, like drum machine is very unique also.
So let me ask you this. What are we expecting from Ghetto Blaster coming up in the future as far as everything that you got going on? Like what's your next quest?
So right now I'm definitely trying to, I think my mission statement for 2025 is to pay homage to the culture of what we do, because it's gotten so lost in translation with trying to be the cool new TikTok guy. I started a vinyl label. I'm putting out records. I'm actually taking all vinyl sets. I played in San Francisco, all vinyl. My friends are in the front row. These young 25-year-old guys are like, I'm like, why were you looking like that in the picture? And he was like, it sounds exactly the same, but it's records. It's mind blowing.
Wow.
They've never seen that, you know? So that's super cool. And like, I really I'm doing a couple side projects. So like, I had to find something to do besides buy $200 Billionaire Boys Club t-shirts. I had to figure out like, what can I do on the road with not spending all my money? So I started taking pictures of graffiti on the road and every city. So I'm writing a book, a coffee table book of my travels, and I'm combining it with graffiti from every city.
Oh, wow.
So like I've got stuff from Southeast London. I've got stuff from Atlanta in some very questionable neighborhoods I should not be in. People like, what are you doing here? I'm like taking pictures of this amazing graffiti pie. You know what I mean? LA, some of these hidden like alleys that just have the most incredible street art.
Wow.
And I fell in love in the art district in Miami. And I went to the Museum of Graffiti, and I was looking at books of people who do the same thing.
I didn't know there was a museum of graffiti.
And I was like, man, I'll be honest with you. Like I've seen some of the most amazing shit. And I think I want to share that with people, like art, recognizing art. So I'm doing this little coffee table book, and I know my friends will spend $200 on some dumb shit that I'm doing. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun coffee table book. So that's cool. That's one project. And then, like I said, the vinyl project, I'm doing an album that's coming out. It was very hard because the digital album is going to have 32 tracks. But the vinyl album is only going to have 9 tracks on it because you can only fit so much on 2 records without it sounding like shit. So I narrowed it down. I licensed back some of my things from different labels, like one with DJ Funk, which sadly was licensed and in production before he passed. I would have paused on it, but it definitely, the record on Dirty Bird's on there. Me and Missy did a record called Tear the Club Up with my buddy from London, Mad Villa. That was on Desert Hearts. We licensed that back to the label. And just a couple key records and some of my newer ones. I kind of did a range of stuff that hit for me before and new stuff.
Where do you see the future of house music and electronic genre going as of right now?
Like right now, I guess it's like mainstream at the moment, right? I mean, it's hip hop guys are working with house people are working with hip hop guys. I mean, Hugo did one with J Balvin. So just saying, like some of the biggest people on both sides of the spectrum are working together. And that's kind of a cool thing. I've always wanted to see that, you know what I mean? So I just, where's it going? I mean, it's endless at this point. I just want to try to remind people that there is culture to this. We don't have to have hit records to listen to records. We don't have to be in main arenas. We can still be in clubs. There can still be a warehouse party. Like without that underground, there is no mainstream, because the mainstream is always chasing what it was. So like, if there is nothing that it is, what are you trying to chase? You know? So like to remind people where it came from is super important, because a lot of these kids, like I hate, and I don't like to put a lot of time on what I hate, but what I don't like is the young kids don't know where it came from.
Right.
And that to me has always been like, I'm like in between young and old. So I've always been like this guy who tells the old guys, hey, you need to be working with these young guys, and these young guys, hey, you need to know who this is. Right. You know, like, or work with them, you know what I'm saying? That's what I loved about Deeon. What he did, he worked with a lot of young guys and older guys. He was he loved putting people together. That's what I loved about him too. So like, I try to do the same thing.
That's awesome. And if you can give your younger self some advice now, what would that be?
Oh, wow. I would have never changed my name. because I went through 5 aliases. And I think the fact that I did that, maybe I'll be a legend to the people who are legends, but to the audience, I'll never be a Steve Hurley. You've had the same name since you started. I've went through 5. And I started Ghetto Blaster later. You know what I mean?
But there's a plus to when you reinvent yourself and you change the name, because now people aren't judging you for what you are, and they don't say, "Oh, he's just an OG."
That was the marketing aspect that behind Ghetto Blaster was for 2 years we didn't put a picture on anything.
Right.
I was the faceless artist. Like people had no idea who Ghetto Blaster was. That's how Bill found out. He called me. He's like, "Yo, man," he's like, "Richard says Ghetto Blaster is a couple of guys from Chicago. Is that a thing?" I was like, "No, I live in Denver." At the time, you know. So he's like, "Okay." He's like, "I thought it was you." He's like, "It just seemed very similar to you." So it was funny because I wanted people to recognize the music first and don't judge me who I am. Like, that's why Marshmallow is incredible. You don't know if he's white, black, Asian. You don't know if he's a boy or a girl. He's got a helmet and he doesn't take the helmet. Well, now he does, but at the time, until people knew who he was, they didn't take the helmet off.
That's crazy.
And that was meant to not judge him for age or anything, you know? Right. So it's very important, I think, for people to listen to the music and not judge it on anything else.
That's incredible.
Yep.
That's incredible, man. So, yeah, this is awesome. So now we've concluded it. We need you to look right there in that camera. Let them know what's up. This is Paul Anthony, and you're watching me live on the S&S Chicago podcast.
Hey, what up? It's Paul Anthony of Ghetto Blaster. You are listening to me live on the S&S Chicago podcast. Yeah. Is that good?
Yeah.
Is that good? Okay, cool.
This is awesome. Anything in particular